Hello and welcome into the SorareAndrews podcast brought to you by Sorare Data. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined as always by Andy Black, who you can find as Black on Sorare. And today our special guest, our boy Frip, also known as SorareUSA, who we had to have on today because I saw a tweet today that was like, here's a bunch of very definitive things. And I did what everyone does on Twitter. And I'm like, that is wrong. This is right. And Frip was like, that was from a year ago. And then I crawled back into my hole and realized, of course, he was right. But Frip, thank you for coming on today to talk about something we're very excited about. It's Return of Champion America.
Yes, I'm stoked. Thanks for having me. This is great.
I'll be honest, I've been talking to Andy about the Liga MX's return, which is like any day now. And he's very excited because he's a longtime Liga MX stacker. So he's like, this is his time to shine. And you came out with a tweet today that was extremely helpful for people like me who was like, oh yeah, I'm sure the leagues will come back at some point. And it was a breakdown of every Champion America league start date. And man, you were right, Andy. Liga MX, good play on that one. Good play. So Frip, you have a very I don't even know if it's that unique, but you're the only one I know that does it. Just kind of a card accumulation strategy that revolves around a lot of players in these leagues, mostly if they're just in a transfer rumor title and you're like, I like this guy. Hey, I guess got his rare. How has that strategy worked out so far?
That was a loaded question. No. So it's been a mix, honestly. So some good examples that talk about Liga MX, right? I think the first actual example where it's happened was I saw on Twitter that Florian Thauvin, how do you French guy, was making his way over to Tigres. And I figured that was back in June 2021. So that was I think my third month on Sorare. And I was like, oh, wow, this guy who's been on the bench is now going to Tigres. He's joining Gignac. They're going to be the kings of Mexico. Outcomes differed. But I think even that, once it went official, even though we'd known about it, through CL, Merlo, whatever, for weeks, he jumped from 0.1 to 0.3 at some point, maybe 0.4 at the high. So, and then, fast forward a couple of months, and then Transfer Market has this page where it's out of contract players. And to be fair, MLS has, been kind of doing that as well with Insigne. I think is the best example where the Toronto GM, I don't know if it was half jokingly, basically said, I went on Transfer Market and I saw that Insigne is out of contract in the summer. So we're going to bring him to Toronto. And that actually ended up happening. And so, there's just been a bunch of cases where somebody goes from a substitute or bench role to maybe a smaller league and becomes a full-time starter, or even one of those talisman players, best case. So that's what I hope for this guy here, but has not quite been the case.
I will say that I think Tauvin's experience in Mexico was shocking.
Yeah.
He was an okay player in France. Was he in France before? Now I've said that.
Yeah, he was
Marseille.
Marseille.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was Marseille or
Yep.
And I remember when he moved, and it was whoa! There are some everyone was put on notice that Liga MX was a place where these guys could go, and it's not it wasn't a retirement league situation. He's 29 now.
Yeah.
And he stinks.
Yeah. There's always something wrong with him. It's he's got some virus. He's broken something. The list of quote unquote excuses it's incredible.
Andy,
overinflated ego.
As a guy who plays a lot of Liga MX cards, you tend not to buy it doesn't feel like at least the guys that like come in and join the league, like, or at least European guys who come in, do you find yourself looking more at guys like this as we see a few more come in, or you're just like, no, I know what the bread and butter of this league is, and
It doesn't seem like these guys come in and like immediately are successful in any way. Gignac might be like the outlier there.
Yeah.
I don't know what his first year was like in MX.
Yeah.
But and he's been ridiculously successful there since.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like you see a ton of guys come over from Europe into MX though.
Yeah, not really. There's
It's a tiny handful.
Yeah. San Luis signed some 22-year-old midfielder from
I did see that from Germany, right?
Yeah, Klimovitz from Germany. I was just scrolling Twitter and I was like, what? That's a strange pipeline.
Did you buy that guy?
I sent some offers and then decided, let's take a breather. We don't need to do this. But yeah, look at that.
I remember you were one of the first people to in fact, you may have been the only one to ask me like on Sorare did a watch list, like how easy it is to like build one of out of contract players.
Yeah.
And I remember like when you asked, I was just like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, but this makes a lot of sense. Like we tend to see players who are let go from their contracts. Like people don't want them anymore. They get the dreaded red X, prices go down. But a lot of these guys, like we know they're going to end up somewhere, like probably in a covered league. Like most leagues where these guys were coming from, they tend to move to another like covered league, barring the random Saudi Arabia or Qatari move. But it was just like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. And it doesn't seem like a lot of people are following it yet, which I don't know if it's because I'm now exposing everyone to this idea that they didn't know about. So apologies for that. Or it's just like the time you have to wait for something to actually happen is enough to push people off, even though in reality, like if it's America guys now, like we weren't using them anyway. And so like the off-season moves just make a lot of sense. Do you find yourself like focusing on guys who are like coming into MLS, or is it literally just like anyone and you're like, oh, they'll sign somewhere, I'm sure?
This might sound a bit weird, but I think I've filtered the list on Transfermarkt. They don't have many filters, but one is nationality. So I've just looked through like Argentinians, Chileans. So in the past, that was like Alexis Sanchez, Vidal. Who else? Like that actually ended up working out decently okay. Denier is the one actually I had, I think 2 of him at one point. So that's like the example where things go south very quickly. I think I flipped 2 Deniers to Powell for 1 Kevin Paredes. I was literally just scrolling.
Where was Denier's rumors taking him?
Galatasaray at some point, somewhere in France even, I believe.
Okay.
It was good teams. John Brooks is another one actually. And he ended up at, I think, Benfica or Sporting? Benfica, which is decent, but he's obviously not playing. But yeah, I think the main like motivation behind it was to like find some guys that would like eventually make their way to MLS. Douglas Costa was one that actually ended up happening, and again, he absolutely sucked. So Bale I think I stayed like away from Bale. Just I think the price at the time wasn't really like 0.5 or something like that, or 0.05. So I stayed away from that. But yeah, just these types of things.
I've got a question on Bale because I listened to the strategy show on, was it Monday, with you, Sean, and
Davis. Yeah,
Davis. He was like immediately ready to go buy Gareth Bale.
I saw that.
And his thought process was, that he was limited, kind of shut down because he wanted to be healthy for the World Cup. Do you think that he could have a year where he has a lot of minutes, starts a lot of games? Because that's what matters, right? That he starts games.
I'm gonna say no. Because, and that's not a knock on Bale. Just if you look at LAFC's like the depth they have at forward, or like the front three, like Vela, Opoku, Bale, Bouanga, Torres, Arango, right? Like there's just so much rotation that's going to happen. And they have, well, CCL is 2 weeks to begin with, but there's a lot happening. So I don't see it. I don't know if does Bale have a turf issue? Is he one of those like anti-turf guys? Like
It would not shock me at all.
It wouldn't shock anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And so in that sense, like I think Sean made the other point, like what Sean said on that at the time was that you want to have guys that are predictably like in the starting 11, and that just doesn't really like Bale doesn't do that for me. So
yeah,
I think he'll get more minutes, he'll do better, but he's still good, right? Like
So
I mean,
the spoiler is that Davis bought a Bale.
Oh, let's go.
oh boy.
Bale is in. So
Nice.
yeah, he's made a few other moves. But yeah, Bale felt like more of a, I really like Bale, and so I'm just going to buy it. And like we all have those guys, so I get it. There's enough fun in this game where you can do stuff like that. So I will say it might be easy with Bale once the season starts, that like it won't be one of those like we know when he's going to play, but we know when he doesn't or when he won't. And that's almost as valuable, that you know, if you know he's not going to play in Seattle or in Portland on the turf, then like, all right, great. You don't line him up then. So yeah.
And I see actually Luis in the comments said that his contract actually does expire mid-season in June. So he could be another one of those guys that like, well, actually I don't know where he would go, but you know.
That's wild. I didn't realize it was that soon.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, somewhere where the golf courses are, you know, accessible.
Are they better than in LA? Like if you're going to play here, I guess you don't have to play here.
I heard Dubai's got some good.
I was going to say. Ronaldo said no to the contract, but Bale, oh, wait, I can try that. I'm going to pull up this tweet with all the leagues here. For anybody who doesn't already follow Frip on Twitter, go at SorareUSA. So as we see, it spreads out pretty much basically over 3 months. Is that right?
Yeah.
February. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more between Mexico and Brazil. Brazil, the latecomers, which is annoying for those of us who have Hulk cards and stuff like that. How many players in your gallery do you have from each of these leagues? Like, are you mostly MLS? Do you try to get guys from all over America just because you can? Like, what's your feeling on these?
I think so. I'm like, my heart really wants me to get really deep into Liga MX. Kind of like I see like Black and you know some of the other guys like talking about their Santos stacks and their like, little Tigre stacks, and that just gets me so hyped. Especially because they have 3 weeks in the spotlight. I mean, Chile has 200 teams.
Someone in chat asked earlier, "What's the play there?" And I think you want the Tigre stack. I think that's. Yeah. I think they're going to be the strongest, most predictable MX team.
Yeah, and so Tigre, Santos. I have some like Brian Rodriguez went to America. There's somebody else that went there, but I would say mainly in order of like a lot of MLS cards, obviously, and then I've been trying to get more, you know, diversified, quote unquote, into like, especially when we look at like defensive stats that, you know, the plays to have some like MLS midfielders, those are great, right? All the number 10s, the forwards got some really good ones in MLS, and then get, I don't know, like a Lautaro, Giannetti, or like I don't know, ever good defenders in Argentina or Brazil with a goalkeeper. So I'm trying to do that, but TBD. So I'd say 80-20, 80% MLS, 20% kind of, you know, spread out across these leagues.
Do you have any guys from like Peru or Colombia, Ecuador?
Yeah. So I have a little like, I don't know if you can see this in the camera. I was going through transfer market again earlier, just because I think people are coming more onto the idea of like, okay, Europeans out of contract, like guys on the bench at Inter, they can go somewhere and smash. But also like MLS guys, right? Alex Alvarado was the guy that like popped in my head.
Yeah.
Because he went from Orlando and he was only 22 and went to, I think, LDU Quito in Ecuador.
He sure did.
And he, like, I was looking at U23 mids in America and he was like a standout. Yeah, Alvarado. And so I have like a little list of like out of contract MLS players that are currently.
So he was on loan there, and he just signed like a 3 or 4 year deal or something.
Yeah, so he'll be back for like a longer time now. And so trying to find the next Alvarado, and I guess I kind of landed on like, so Quintero already went, like Darwin Quintero from Houston. He already signed somewhere, I think Colombia.
Colombia, I think, yeah.
And then the other one is Jordi Alcivar from Charlotte. He went to a team that I should have written down. I didn't write down, but and then the other one that would surprise me was Quinones from Dallas. He's like a central defender, and he went, I think, somewhere in Ecuador. But those three are about it. So, oh yeah, Jose Angulo. Oh, that could be a good one. So yeah, I've been trying to like dabble, just stuff where people don't pay attention. And
I've been really afraid of those 3 leagues: Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, just for the sheer fact it's hard to get like information and news.
Yep.
But my hope is that with like the predicted lineups and Sorare data, that at least might be able to get like little tidbits out of there, like when a guy might be questionable or something. Maybe be able to see that in the lineup builder. Might make a Peruvian stack a little more I don't know, palatable.
Yeah, I think there was a French corner of Twitter this time last year actually, that like December, January, that was just hyping the Universitario, the cream.
I was just about to bring this up.
To the moon.
Yeah.
I think somebody won like All-Star, like somebody won All-Star with a Universitario stack.
Yeah, man.
I don't remember what the prize ended up being, but there was definitely, I remember seeing the lineup and being like, I didn't even know this team was on the platform. And I remember that they weren't that great. Like, I don't think the team itself was that great. Like in real life, they weren't like a perennial like title fan, unless I'm completely wrong on this, which is absolutely possible. But I remember like when they announced that they were coming on the platform, everybody looked and they're like, oh yeah, they're just not that good. And it was like, okay, I don't have to worry about this. And then all of a sudden it was like the 5-man stack was like 490. And I'm like, what? What is it?
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
They finished 4th. I'm laughing because the one game, so I was in Lima. This was after this, I guess the same season, but I tried to go to like the version of like the Lima Clásico, which is Alianza Lima versus Universitario. And it was me and like 3 like British like backpackers I met the day before, and we just rolled up an hour before. And there's lines like miles, like genuinely, I think up to like a mile and a half, just a single file line to get into like the entrance, because like Universitario Stadium is kind of built into a hillside, so you only can enter through like half of the stadium essentially.
Did you already had tickets in hand?
No, so that's the other part.
Okay.
We were like these naive. We were like, oh yeah, we'll just roll up. It can't be sold out, could it? Like, yeah, not even a single person. Like usually, like I think even for the Super Bowl, you get people, like scalpers outside, but nothing. Like ask the security guards, ask like some people on the inside, like not a single ticket. And then yeah, to your point, like Universitario lost 1-4, I think, or 4, something like that. They just got blown out by Alianza. So yeah, I think Cristal is the other team that's supposed to be like historically good. But
so what did you guys end up? Sorry, back to that story. What did you guys end up doing?
So
you just like walked off or what? Like find a bar?
Yeah, essentially it was a mix of both. Like walked out and tried. It was all chaos with like the traffic, so ended up I think ducking into like a restaurant, ate a little like lomita, like meat sandwich, watched the first half, and then booked it out of there. But yeah, it was deflating. That was the only like bad experience in terms of like, you go to a stadium and then I've never experienced just no tickets, like not even for a ridiculous price, just absolutely nothing. So it happens.
That's wild. Since you have well documentedly traveled all over the globe, what are some of the best stadiums you've seen?
Ooh, Maracana in actually you comment on the US. This was a Secret Santa gift from my buddy. But I almost wore this. It's a Fluminense jersey. And the reason I have this is that when I was in Brazil, I visited Sorare Brazil. Very cool guy. But he's a big Monero fan, and there's that video of like us going crazy to the Hulk. I think he scored a brace that game. It's one of the funnier videos, I think. And then I went back to Rio, and at that time, I think there's rumors now that it's like the state championship, right? So that's their preseason, like theoretically speaking, right? It's not covered on Sorare. So that's why the Brazilian league starts like, was it April?
Yeah.
End of April, right?
End of April.
That's why there's such a big gap, because they play like each state has their like own regional championships. And the final in the state of Rio was Flamenco and Fluminense. And they're like, bitter rivals. And so I went to both legs of that, and it was like insane. I think the second leg, the first one I went with a group. So I kind of like, do like the gringo price. You pay like ridiculous $40-$50 for a ticket, which I think they're at the door, like face value, like $10 max. But it's whatever. And then the second one, I actually bought the ticket from the Fluminense box office. So I paid like $7 or something. But the problem was it was just me. Like I didn't have anybody to go with. And I remember the time I talked to like Sorare Brazil, and he was like, do not go alone. Like he sent like this voice note. It's like, as a gringo, you don't know what they'll do to you. Like if you were like Fluminense fan too, like, because the stadium was, I would say, 70% Flamengo, because I think they're just the bigger team in Rio. And so Fluminense was the underdog, and I was in the Fluminense section wearing this thing, this jersey. But it was insane. Definitely the best atmosphere, I think, because people talk about Maracana, like it's like used to be 100, almost over 100K, something like that. And they made it smaller because of FIFA regulations, but it's still just so overwhelming. And then it helps that Fluminense actually got the upset and ended up winning the championship. That's just like added fuel to the fire. Like people were going crazy.
Do you speak Portuguese?
No, no. I can say like the very like, it's weird because I speak a little French and a little Spanish, and Portuguese is kind of in the middle. But as soon as people open their mouths and like the sounds, I just does not compute. Like reading, no, like it's all right, but no. So
I'm going to bring this back to Champion America conversation here because, well, we're starting up Jan 5. It's today is December 29.
It's a week from now, no?
Is it a week from now? We'll be setting lineups next week, Andy, for these?
Today,
I
around
guess,
this time.
Yeah.
So it must be what, game week 335? Or is it 333? I don't know which one we're in now.
35, I think.
Frip noticed something that bothered me immensely when they announced the new game weeks after the Global Cup, that the weekend game weeks are now odd numbered as opposed to even. So now I have no idea. I looked at, because I picked up Atlas Player yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever that was, and I went to the lineup builder and I put in like 332 or 334, and I was like, oh, it's the weekend. And there was like no game, and I'm like, what? Like how? I'm like, oh, it's the odds now. But anyway, Andy, I talked to you like a week or two ago, and I was like, I was thinking about buying some League MX guys, and you're like, yeah, do it. And then I was like, but it's only League MX. Like there are going to be like 12 prizes. Like why would I do this? And your response was like, because 15 people enter. Like this is why you should do it. And that was enough to convince me to at least get a little more. And my problem is now is that I'm halfway, or I'm 3/5 of the way. So I'm like, do I really buy 2 more, or what do I do? And you're stacked with League MX players, so you're not necessarily having to buy like more to get in. Frip, do you have this like short-term intense belief that you need to get guys right now?
Do I have impulse control? Probably not. I've gotten close. The problem was actually, it was good that I couldn't like sell off, like couldn't get a ETH balance essentially to like go acquire them. But that problem has been resolved as of this morning.
Oh, no.
So I see you have Camilo Vargas. Like, that's a keeper. I'm missing a keeper and a defender, I believe. So I'm also like 3/5 of the way there, essentially.
That's all I had for a while. Vargas and Anderson Santamaria, both of which
Yeah.
because Andy pressured me into buying them.
Of course.
A while ago, though, I didn't buy them like just for this run up, but then it's like, okay, I need some more. Because my thought was just like, all right, I'm sure I have other guys, but like I really don't have that many Liga MX cards. So it was kind of like, oh, I really do have to wait for MLS, or I guess Argentina's coming back in a few weeks after that. It's like less than a month now, but even that feels like forever until that happens. So now I'm that guy trying to get Liga MX cards.
I guess does David Ochoa count? Because he went to what, San Luis?
San Luis, yeah.
Although I'd say it's very like coin flip on whether he's starting or not. So
hey, tell me there's a chance.
in the last preseason game, he did start. He started the first half and the second half of the game, and apparently made some really good saves. But I think in the other preseason games, he did not start. So,
why?
Why would he go to not start?
I think the goalkeeper there is kind of I don't want to say a legend, but he's been there a long time and whatever. And his contract runs through the summer. So the thought might be that goalkeeper stays in place until July or whatever. And then essentially they hand the keys to the car over to Ochoa for the fall season.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I still have mine. This probably not going to sell him, but if he starts in a week, then the impulses will be there'll be no rules. All bets are off.
If he starts in a week, it's a big deal, I think, because like all the guys with Tani, I'm one of them, are probably losing a goalkeeper there. I want to say that there's a few other U23 goalkeepers that may have like recently lost their job. And then you have everybody expiring here in July. So like he'll be back potentially as one of the guys. The few guys.
The guy.
Yeah.
All I need is a guy. Because
I know that there were some Asian rumors on a couple of young goalkeepers. I saw Techers was buying up goalkeeper over there. And it's just like, I'm not playing with that fire.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I was in Korea like a month ago. And I went to an FC Seoul game with Ross. He's the Sorare K-League English, I believe.
Yeah.
Ross Davis, and then another guy from his like Discord group. And we saw Seoul against Gimcheon Gangwoo, which is like the military team. And the guy on Gimcheon, that was a U22 keeper who was contracted to Jeonbuk, to like the ultimate team, like not the ultimate team, but like one of the best teams in Korea. And so we were talking and just like, oh, so this guy comes back next season, like, is he going to start in Jeonbuk? And at the time, Ross was like, oh, maybe we'll see. And so picked up 2 of his cards, and now he's one of those like coin flip, or maybe like a bad coin type of thing. Kim Jong-un.
I also have 2 of them.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah, it's because I think Lee Bom-soo was the other guy that left Jeonbuk, but they brought in somebody else. And then Baek Baek, and then I forgot the other part. And he might be the starter in Seoul, so for FC Seoul, which, but isn't Korea, there was a great calendar that somebody posted in the replies to like the My Schedule tweet that just has like every game week, and you have like a little column of like which league is playing. Because the thing with K-League, isn't it that they have less games? Like they'll have more, that feels like a bye week, so to speak.
Just based on like my experience, it feels that way. I don't know if
is it actually that way?
Factual though, yeah.
Okay, because they still play 36 games or 34 games, right?
Yeah, they do like the split playoff at the end. The regular season schedule looks really short, and then they do like they split it, and then one for the title and one for relegation.
Yep, yeah, because also the game we watched was in that like relegation thing, and both teams were essentially already safe, and so it was like maybe 3,000-4,000 fans in the stadium, which, whatever. But U23 is like the big like new thing for me. I'm gonna try to get into this season.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about it. As somebody who has tried and left, good luck.
I'm just looking for more disappointment. So just some fresh disappointment, different
Honestly,
flavors.
are you planning on doing it in the summer?
Yeah. I mean MLS in Asia, right?
There is
So,
no better way to guarantee stuff like that than playing U23 Korean.
I'll be
There we
honest.
go.
That's your best chance versus playing in the European. If you don't have like during the European
Oh,
seasons,
yeah.
if you don't have all the Eredivisie cheat codes and Mbappe's.
I was going to say Mbappe
That's
is
true.
one of them too.
Yeah, if you don't have those guys, then at least in the Americas, like those guys are more attainable, more affordable, and if you want to just go buy those guys, you sort of can.
Not
Okay.
wrong. Not wrong.
Fair enough. So,
Yeah, Korea also has like the U22 rule where they have to have a certain number of players on the field or starters or on the field, whatever it was. And I remember, so I had this Kim Jong-un card, and I was like, I have no idea when he's going to play. So, but I always played him. So I was just because I was like, oh, I kind of like half gave up on U23,
Yep.
and then he would bang like an 80, and I was like, all right. But honestly, I just hope that he becomes the very clear-cut starter so that I can sell him. That's all I want now.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that's the plan at least.
So if he becomes the starter, you're dumping him.
Yeah, I'm like immediately out.
He's the dot on the way up, not even like the top dot, like on the graph. It's like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, no, I never on the top. Like I will happily take a dot on the way up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember after I bought him, the dot, the lines went very quickly down, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, same.
I
think it's whenever I make a purchase somewhere, you'll see like, because I'm pretty sure like, I'm somewhat convinced, I've not checked this, but that anytime I sell somebody, it's for basically a 10% discount. And every time I buy somebody, it's like a plus 10%. Yeah. And I don't think I ever get like the best deal, so to speak. Which in a sense is kind of good because whenever I do make a purchase, I feel like I have to be very like confident. So it's, but yeah.
So this is the limited.
Okay.
So like, I guess I technically bought on the way down.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more down after that.
Yeah.
That was
local minimum.
The rare, I'm like, I'm back. It's all right. It's back.
Oh wow. That's a lot.
Weird.
Yeah. Those are wild charts.
Wait,
the limited looks so different. Because the floor is almost, it's so much lower on the. Oh wow, yeah. Oof.
I just need another spike so I can get out. I don't want to be part. I don't want to ride this ride anymore.
Yeah, son.
No thanks.
We're gonna get some of those, I think, once the European window opens, and then because you also have the other part, like there's free agents, and there's also players that like teams like Madrid, Inter, Barcelona, or like whatever, like a bunch of those teams have some type of like, budget issue that they just want to get rid of. So I don't know. One day you wake up, Fabrizio Romano tweets that Mariano Diaz is going to Tigres, and it's like spikes everywhere.
Yeah.
So and yeah, that's gonna happen. But I don't know. Just hope I'm awake when that happens.
I do wonder if like Tovan hasn't really taught us anything because like the transfers happen, everyone's like, oh yeah, we're like I'm in. But I guess he actually might be more of the outlier. Like Insigne ended up being really good. Bernardeschi ended up being pretty good.
Bouanga has been. He hasn't had time yet, but I think he's going to be very good. Or he has been.
Yeah.
Eye test wise.
Yeah.
Dale.
Yeah. You're just talking about guys that have come over from Europe and have just crushed.
It's more like I feel like when those guys come, it's like, well, actually, Insigne was a bit of a weird one because didn't we find out like well before?
It was like it was like 6 months before or something.
Yep. It was this time last year.
Did he sign in, or it was announced in January, and then he stayed until the end of the season?
Until his contract.
So that was kind of like you still had his like because he was very good at Napoli. So like you had his champion Europe. It was like you're not going to pay that much because it's going to be he's going to MLS, but theoretically should be better in MLS. But yeah, that was a weird one. A few people brought up Druidzi, who I remember when he came over and there was like a run on his cards, and I remember thinking that 0.15 was too much for his rare, because I was like, I don't know how he's going to do. And then all of a sudden it was like 0.7. And I was like, oh, yep. And that's that one up.
Yep. Yeah. I think he was my like learning moment that I should at least, because I think I saw the thing and I was like, oh yeah, coming from what, Zenit or something. Yeah. And I was like, okay, like he can't be that good. Yeah, that I didn't even go to Sorare data and like look up his like scoring at all. Like I just, cool, moving on. But yeah, I think he was the one where I was like, okay, we got to pay attention. At least, do due diligence. Shaqiri is another one. That was another one. Like Shaqiri had been like, sorry, at the time, like there's like, I think Chicago Fire has somebody working at the organization that leaks a bunch of stuff. And there's like these anonymous Twitter accounts that banter back and forth, because they've been talking about Shaqiri for like since December.
Oh, really?
Just saying like Shaqiri will be at Fire, like wait till March when it gets official. Because I remember checking my phone. I was picking up River Plate tickets, and that morning they were going back and forth like Shaqiri, like the next 48 hours they'll announce it, and he was I think 0.1 or something, like Liverpool bench. And then I get out of the line, like the line was huge, but anyway, like 4 hours later it was official, and all of a sudden it's like 0.4, 0.5. Didn't have the best first season, but just another example. Just like it could be so close, but then for some reason the official thing, even though it goes from like say it's 80% confidence to 100, like that gap all of a sudden like causes this huge spike, which I think that's where you're going to make some, you can play in that area. But
that is a really good point though, because I do feel like even in those situations where I'll look and it's like, you think that when you see it, you've hit the top, like when these run up, but it is like that extra 20% that like maybe like you're obviously not getting that huge, the whole thing, but even if you're getting like a little bit, because you're right, like there are enough people who like either wait till it's official or literally just like don't care until it's official, and then they're like, okay, I will buy the top now, and you're just like, okay, well I bought the almost top, and now I'll sell the top so that I can get out.
Speaking of charts and tops, I think Insigne would be a fun one to look at, because with it being announced like 6 months out, I remember there was a huge spike, and then I don't think that like his price maintained for like the entire time, and then it probably spiked again once he started playing. But if that's something you can show, it'd be an interesting one to look at.
So like
I think it's like 50-50. Will he go up or down? And people were so split on it.
When did he actually start playing?
I thought people. I mean, people were pretty confident he was gonna smash.
Which
it made more sense to think he would smash than not.
Yeah.
And so he came in July. So like these were his first games. Or actually this is June. So this is actually before he came. So I guess there was a run up when it was like, oh, he's really coming. And then, but this is well before. Like he would have been announced like in this range here.
Well, you're not showing it right now.
Oh, I'm like looking at it. Like, why aren't you guys following this? There we go.
There.
Yeah, so that February 1st was probably when it was announced, right?
Somewhere around there. Yeah. So like,
this is rare. Wait, he was at 0.2. Holy shit.
So this is 2021.
Oh.
Yeah. So
okay.
So here's Gary V.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And then theoretically, like it had to have happened in this range, the January 2022.
Yep.
Oh, no, I lost it. There we go. So it actually didn't really spike that much price-wise. Well, I guess, like,
it's you never walk alone.
Oh, that's the number one. So I'll give them some.
Oh, okay.
Give them the benefit of the doubt. Bob bought 1.7, but he was pretty good. Like, and he's going to be good this year, I assume.
Yep.
He signed for a little while too, right?
Oh, I think he has like 3 or 4 year deal. I don't know. Something
Yeah, it was
longer
longer
term.
than like most of these new European. I mean, he's only 31, so it's not like he's retiring here.
I guess they minted cards with him in the Toronto kit.
Yes.
I missed those.
Oh, really? Oh, wait.
No, they did not.
Is that a new picture?
This is.
Wait. When is that from?
That's weird.
So there's new MLS pictures. Maybe.
Let's see. Let's go to our trusted. Yeah, that's a shirt from last year. So it looks like they got the picture and never made the cards.
I see.
Well, it might be one of those like January releases where it's like we're minting a bunch of players that didn't have cards last season.
Right. They did do something like that last year.
It wasn't in the off season though, right?
I think it was right before.
Like, are they really going to mint new Insignia cards and then like 3 weeks later do the new season and lose your XP like immediately?
Yeah, they would do that.
I don't know. Yeah, wait. I didn't think about the XP. Were they? Yeah, I think those were old cards. It would be like next couple of weeks, I think. But to be fair, last year MLS also started much later than end of February. I think there's like a month difference. So.
But I'm just thinking like the new cards come out after the season starts, and so if they mint anything new now, I mean they have like MLS auctions going on, so like XP will be 2% at best by the season starts. But
like will Sorare make money? Would they do that? I don't know. I don't know.
I think they did. Did Bernardeschi? So he didn't even get a new picture.
Oh yeah. Huh. Did they come at the same time?
Toronto thing is weird.
Vikings asking when new cards for 2023 come on auction, and it's usually like 4 to 6 weeks after the season starts.
I think so. Yeah,
so
I would expect it to be like end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah.
Seems fair.
Yeah. It also seems way too long.
But, yeah, I agree.
But you gotta wait for the pictures.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about that we need to talk about is CONCACAF Champions League. Now, I've got a lot of different.
He just bailed.
Sorry. I've got a lot of thoughts about CCL, and I think that the big one is like the worrisome that teams are going to rotate more, and teams are going to like. I don't want to say not try in CCL, but not try in CCL and then rotate maybe in both like league and in CCL and become very unpredictable on what their lineups are going to be.
Yeah. I mean, the two examples that come to mind is like Rapids, I think 2 or 3 years ago, literally the coach said it's preseason for them and they obviously got eliminated. That was a low point, I think, for MLS in general. But and then like the Seattle of last year, like they go all out and then they just suck all year, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I go back and forth on it because maybe like that calendar would be a good thing to look at. Like I have to do this like later, but essentially I was thinking like Vancouver is one of the teams, right? Hasal, U23 keeper, like Pedro Vite, like pretty solid U23 forward, like. I think you could build a solid like U23 just for that one midweek. And I don't think there's Champions League because it's March 3rd or 5th. Anyway, like essentially, is it worth making like a small team? Like because they play Real España, which is I think the second easiest matchup after Austin with like the Haitian team that they play on neutral ground. Is it worth getting Drusi or will Drusi play in that? What do you think?
I guess that's the real question, right?
Like,
so I need to buy a forward for CCL, and I have all the other pieces. So it's not like oh, should you? No, I need to. And I was throwing around different options, and Driussi was one of them. But I was like, will
Yeah.
he even play in that game? And then I was thinking about like the forwards from Philly. Will they
Yep.
even play though? I don't know.
Do you even want? Oh yeah.
Yeah, who's gonna be trying the hardest? Those are the guys I want.
Yeah, Philly. I don't know. Like it's LAFC. I can see. So I'm looking at the bracket. So Houston, or sorry, not Houston. Austin has like the really easy match, or like first round, but then they would go against the winner of Leon and Tauro, which
Wait, not 20.
I'm guessing would be Leon. Yeah, sorry, I think the first link had it. Because then the other bracket is Vancouver is in the same bracket as LAFC, so you would just likely get LAFC versus Vancouver. Is that worthwhile? I don't think so. Yeah, you see, yeah, Atlas and Philadelphia in the same. So like, I don't know.
I'm excited for everybody to be like, yeah, Vela will play.
Yeah. Oh no.
With no preseason whatsoever. No problem.
Yeah.
Andy, don't you have like every Atlas player? How do you not have an Atlas forward?
I mean, I do, but I need more forwards because I have an Orlando stack, Philly defensive stack, Orlando defensive stack, Atlas stack, and then like mids from like Tigris and Atlas, and I've got all of these guys. I need more forwards.
Yeah. I want to imagine that most people try not to play Orlando and Tigris, right? Like,
yeah.
Zardes
Zardes is your answer, because is Leon? How good is Leon? Like, are they?
I mean, they were, I think, bottom half of the table, but like Zardes will never be the answer for me to anything
against a Haitian team on a neutral ground on a Tuesday in Honduras. That sounds like jazzy music.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely agree.
He's less than Juicy. I mean, you're not paying, however much it may be, and he's definitely not going to Europe. Look at him. Is he tilted? He's like off center, probably. Like
he is a little
3 or 4 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that point too.
Yeah, like based on just like principle of always disliking Zardes, I'm not gonna buy him.
But I think because this year MLS kicks off the weekend of February 28th or 25th, so Austin will have an MLS game before they play CCL. Which in that case, they play St. Louis the first week, so they'll definitely rotate against that, right? That's almost easier than the Haitian.
It's easier than the Haitian team in Honduras, yeah.
Hey, that's the other thing too. I see all these charts on like who's got the easiest strength of schedule and most difficult. And it's like nobody knows yet. We don't know.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about MLS is how like it feels like it completely turns over every year with like most teams. And then we see the preseason like, here are the easiest schedules to begin the season, and it's like the teams that we're basing these on are not the teams that are going to be playing the first week of the season. Like just look at New York City. Like they're completely different now.
Right.
And who knows if they're a good, like they probably look like a bad matchup in all of the charts, but they could have two new center backs.
Toronto's another example where last year, this year, are they a good matchup or a bad matchup? And
NYCFC actually, like what's with New York City? They're gonna play SL5 the way their roster is going.
Yeah,
that's I'll be honest and say like I do look at some of those matchups. Like I have like a little thing running that like takes the like expected goals from last season. But earlier in the season, I think I look more at like the home away. Like just looking for like home games, which Austin do have. Like Austin, for example, will have St. Louis, Montreal, and then Violet, like the Haitian team. It's like those 3 games. I think they come back to MLS with another home game. Oh no, they go to Salt Lake, then they go home, and then they go to Houston. So like that seems really good on paper, but I think the rotation, like that lineup against Montreal, should hopefully tell us a lot. I don't know. or maybe not. I don't know.
Was it Nashville last year that started with like 12 straight
7.
away games? 7,
Yep.
whatever it was.
Yep.
Like, I feel like that's valuable. It doesn't matter who you're playing. If you're playing that many away games, then like you could learn a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah, and then NYC had that like 8 or 7 home games in a row stretch where Sean Johnson was like an ETH, like 1.3 ETH or something.
Yep.
The rare.
That was a crazy.
And they also had like 5 clean sheets in a row. It was, that peak right there, the 2 dots. End of June. Yeah.
It's wild that like any MLS goalie would be that much, and Blake was probably more.
Yeah.
You just go to Fiat if you want to feel better about it. That's all.
Oh yeah. It's wild.
But yeah, New York City. I don't know. Sean John could be gone. Callens could be gone.
Yeah.
Is Barraza good enough to get the job if SJ leaves?
Supposedly, yes, but
interesting.
I mean, I really hope so. For no reason whatsoever.
Oh, is that a spotlight? Look at the lighting effect on that. Wow.
Yes.
Ooh, I didn't notice that yet.
Fancy.
Yep.
Do you have to work for Sorare to get that?
It's only for Luis Barraza, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not available anywhere else on the site. Yeah, I just want to play my 8% Luis Barraza.
Same.
Now, like the other card we talked about earlier, if he gets the job, are you keeping him or selling him?
That's a good question.
He's like Ivicic almost is like the way I would describe that scenario.
Did you keep Ivicic?
Andy convinced me to buy. So in my early days of Sorare, I was a very impressionable. Yeah. And Andy was like, "Hey, Portland just signed this goalie. He's young, and was Steve Clark there?
Yeah,
Steve Clark, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
And he's like, Steve Clark, no way he's a starter. You should get Ivicic."
That's not what I said.
You were like, "I think he's really cheap, and I just bought one." And I feel like it was an acceptable translation of you should go buy this guy. So I did. And then Ivicic sat the entire season. And I hold no ill will because I held on to him long enough for when he started. And so...
Oh, Jesus.
Look at that.
So this is where I got him. And I just, 0.035. During the boom, no less. And I don't even know when I got rid of it because I must have included it in a trade, which is why it's not showing up. Now I'm very curious.
This is curious, though, because I think back then there wasn't as much focus on backup goalies. And I think if you had a time machine and went back into, like, let's say April 2021, like after Gary V, like if you just bought a bunch of backup keepers, like there at the time there was almost no downside. Whereas nowadays, like even Barraza is like 0.1, and he's even in a good spot. Oh wow.
Ivicic turned into Camilo Vargas.
Full circle.
How about this? Boy, that made my day, right? Not going to be honest. Or not going to be honest. Not going to lie. I will be honest. I didn't expect that to come up. That was great. Wow. So Rakitic and Ivicic.
Is Ivicic Serbian? Is that what that looks like? Serbian, maybe?
I think so, right?
Slovenian.
Slovenian. Okay.
Oh, one of the more interesting DMs I got on Twitter was somebody who DM'd Ivicic directly on Instagram in Slovenian, and asked him if he was going to play, and then just like messaged me that out of the blue. And this was like, I think August of like when they were having that battle back and forth. And it's like, oh yeah, he's actually good. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, so that one turned out fine. I don't know why. So I obviously had Ivicic really cheaply, and I obviously bought Barraza really cheaply. Yeah. And I remember I bought Barraza because I followed the Gator guy Brad Knighton strategy that I knew Sean Johnson was going to the Gold Cup, and Barraza was U23 at the time. So instead of buying Knighton, Like, well, I couldn't because Keith bought them all. The 2 goalies I bought were Barraza and Hazel because I knew that Crépeau was going. So I have both of those guys for like a combined 0.1.
Oh wow.
And so now it's like I don't want to sell now.
Yeah.
I'm going to play Champion America with 0.1 worth of goalies. That's all.
Yeah. Speaking of Gold Cup, we don't have that this year, but we have, what is it called?
League
League Cup,
The
or yeah,
League
yeah.
Cup, yeah.
We don't,
That
and then
should
we don't know if it's covered or not.
It should be covered. They should.
But they're shutting down all of
Yeah.
Liga MX and MLS to play League Cup.
Yeah.
Is every team play? I mean, it can't.
I think
No,
so. Yeah,
Wait, really?
Or it's every team in both leagues?
I think so.
Well,
I don't know anything about this tournament.
yeah, it has all the logos on the site.
Yeah, like
Oh,
even
it's
St. Louis
sponsored by
is
Coors
playing in
Light.
it, and if there was some kind of like way to qualify for it, St. Louis, I don't know how St. Louis would have qualified. So
I see their logo's on it. Yeah.
yeah,
So they'd be in it.
What is it actually called?
Leagues Cup. Oh, leagues plural.
As simple as
Oh,
that,
look.
huh?
Yeah, sponsored by Coors Light. Look at that. Like,
it's like a big NCAA tournament style bracket. Like maybe I'm wrong. I don't think they're doing like group play or anything. It's just like one big.
that even looks like the Sorare font. Like that's look, 47 clubs, like officially licensed clubs now minting on our NFT platform. Like that looks like Sorare. That
So it's going to be Global Cup is now League Cup or Leagues Cup.
like this objectively looks very fun, and I want this to be covered. Just from like, obviously I have a lot of like interest in this being covered, but like,
Yeah,
this would be awesome, right? Like, I think this is unique in like the world of soccer. Right? There's
it's
no
a very
other like,
American thing.
yeah.
We're gonna
US
have to
versus
we're gonna
Mexico.
shut down all the leagues and we're gonna play a big tournament, and it's gonna be like a NCAA bracket, and you can fill out a bracket. Yeah, I don't know.
This should be a thing.
Pretty sure that someone from Sorare addressed the possibility of this being covered, and it pretty much came out like yes, we would like it to be covered, and meaning I think they're at the mercy of Opta, but it seems like something that Opta absolutely would cover, and so I see no reason to think this won't be included. Champion America just goes on, but with Leagues Cup instead of.
That would be wild. Yeah, we got to plant somebody at Opta. Like it's been a year and a half. Like what since Gary V Boom. Like we're overdue for some like Opta insider. If it hasn't already happened, I don't know. Maybe it already happens.
I think it's I would be shocked if they didn't cover it.
Just like even for the Peruvian leagues, like just stay kind of on topic, just like to have one guy, you know, that's just on call. It's like, all right, we need you to fly down to Cusco. Your flight's tomorrow morning. Cienciano play at 3 p.m. We need you to take stats. Like, yeah.
I think it's an easy thing to do. Like they cover Copa America, which is like a fine. Like it's not nearly as big as this.
The other cool thing would be the Brazilian state championships. Those should be covered.
Yeah, I don't know why those are not covered.
Right? Like that would be, I think, huge, right?
Is it more than what are just in the leagues?
It goes down to the second. I think it's like kind of like the U.S. Open Cup. Well, it's mirrored
there's like a
after
reason
the
why the U.S. Open Cup isn't covered because like they don't have cameras.
I
mean, like NYCFC plays on a college field, so
yeah, that's fair. Oh, man.
All right. So now we got to stack up on more Liga MX and MLS players so that we're covered for the Leagues Cup.
Yeah, it did say 47 teams until like Mike's comment. I think the 48th team is gonna be like the Qatar national team or something like.
Oh boy.
So we'll get there.
Qatar did play in the the Gold Cup? They had
Yep.
And Copa America.
Yeah.
I think they played in both. Because weren't they different years? Did I make that up? They definitely played. I'm pretty sure they played in Copa America. And yeah. Aren't we going to play in the Euros? Because we don't have to qualify? No?
Maybe. Yeah.
I thought it was Copa America that we were playing.
Copa America.
I'm sure we'll play in that. But
I think Tyler Adams like dropped that in like some interview. Nice.
Somebody in the back, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Guitar played Copa. This is Mike Baston here.
Yeah.
So I think the fun thing with Leagues Cup, at least, we talked about CCL. CCL teams might not try, teams might rotate. Leagues Cup, they got nothing to lose because there's nothing else going on. They're going to play. So
Yeah.
please,
there's money,
please have
right?
coverage for that. So we're
because like MLS teams will play their best team in a meaningless friendly in July against like Eintracht Frankfurt, and then their players will get injured. I don't know who it was last year, but it's just like
it was Reynoso.
Yeah, exactly. And so they better play like I don't know.
When you started,
Light or want them to play.
Yeah, when you started saying that, the team in my head was Eintracht Frankfurt, and then you said it, which is just great.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I do wonder if Seattle's experience in Champions League last year, like what it does to the current season's teams, because like they were dreadful in league play presumably because of Champions League. Like they just got behind early and just like couldn't come back. And so I would understand if they just gave up on it, even though Seattle won. Like you're no longer the first MLS team to do it. So like, does it matter? And the fact that like Seattle's not in it is just wild to me.
That was surprising actually. I just assumed they were in it, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay.
They're like, no. We're going to take the Canadian champion Vancouver Whitecaps.
Of course.
Canada.
Yeah, it became really clear last year that they just didn't have the depth to play in multiple competitions.
Like nobody does here.
Yeah,
they're just not built for it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Austin though, like say you take the approach of all right, whatever, we don't want this. Like you play your backups against this, like Violetta, the team from Haiti, and it's like, I think there's no offense to like the Haitian league, but like Austin's backups would still win that round.
Right.
And so then you're all of a sudden stuck in a matchup against Leon, or likely Leon. And so it's like, even if you wanted to lose, short of forfeiting, like you're gonna have that either way. Like I don't know. I don't know. Like you can obviously, like if you're say like your LAFC, right? You play what's the Alianza? No. They have like a pretty hard matchup. If they just play second team, they're obviously gonna get kicked out. But I don't know. I like to think that like most athletes and like teams are motivated to win. Like that's why they're there, you know. Like us mortals don't have that drive. So like I'm just gonna assume they're gonna go for it, but I don't know.
I think we will all assume they go for it unless there's a very specific, like people are ruled out before the matches, and then we could all just tilt our faces off when none of them play.
It's just gonna be enough that one person, like just one guy.
Right. You'll get 4 or 5, and it'll be like the goalie, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
He's the one?
Fun. See, that's disappointment I look forward to. That's like gives me life right now.
I will say you brought up a good point earlier, and you kind of just like reminded me of it a little bit. The goalie, like I doubt we'll see goalkeeper rotations. So like, Hassel's a good shout there for a U23 goalkeeper with a little extra utility. And then I don't know, any of those goalkeepers should play, right? You think?
Who should?
Just any of those goalkeepers and that are playing in CCL, they should play. Like I don't think any of those teams rotated their goalkeepers. I don't think.
Yeah, those are always random. Like I think Philadelphia did it once last year. No, maybe not. I don't know. But
I feel like the only time Freeze played was like Blake was like back late from international duty.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the time where you play a goalkeeper in extra. Like,
but even thinking back to like Orlando with Gaise, he was like in where is he from, Peru or Venezuela? Peru, yeah. And he had a game in Copa, and like 2 days later he had a game with Orlando, and he like flew back. He had to have been like jet lagged, and he's playing in a league game.
What wasn't it a Wasn't it the World Cup?
It's the playoffs, right?
It was the playoff. Like he flew from Qatar.
the World Cup qualifier.
Yeah.
He flew from Qatar and like the next day played.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, yeah, he's in Qatar.
Was this
No
where
way.
you guys were, yeah. Is this where you guys were looking up flights or something? I remember one of you looking up flights at one point. Like, how long is this flight?
How long is this flight?
Well, there was one. So this happened multiple times. You posted like, well, there's no way he can play tomorrow because it's a 16-hour flight and the game's in 14 hours. Legitimately, he cannot play. But then, like jokingly, we looked at the one last year with Gaese, and it was like, well, you know, the flight's 10 hours and they don't play for 20. Surely he's, you know, back and playing in this, right? Just
he's
thinking there's no way. And he did. He ended up playing.
He did.
Like I said, professionals.
And none of us were like, he's a goalie. Of course he's going to play.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
He was just like, no chance.
He took his NyQuil and he passed out on the flight and he was good to go.
Yep. That's why I bought him just now. That kind of drive. I need that.
Well, not just now.
No, not just now. But like 3 days.
You got a pretty good deal, right? Yeah. That was like that was a strange situation too, in terms of like, oh yeah, Tom Bogert, who's like the guy, like the Fabrizio Romano of MLS, essentially, was like, yeah, they're getting close. And then the other guy, Nico El Roland, I think he's also like not a nobody. He's like a Sounders beat writer, which like tons of connections in South America. Like he was like, no, there's a difference in like salary expectations. And then next day, oh, he's signed. Like, I don't know if the guy ever follow up and like say why he like tweeted that, but I just because that's when you got your Gaese for cheap, right? When that second tweet came out.
Yes, I paid 0.401.
Wow. Yeah.
I just remember, and Mike, our friend Mike McGee, was like, some guy on Twitter said, that's okay. That happens. It happens.
He absolutely earned everything. Yeah, the guy just like went on. I'm looking at his timeline right now. He's just like, oh, okay. He said at this time there are some significant obstacles that could break down negotiations, and then 24 hours later is like, oh, after a long negotiations process, he finally signed. He earned absolutely everything he demanded to get this done. Okay. Cool.
Does he play Sorare?
That's actually, I've been wondering about that. Like, I don't think he does. But
I can't.
There's like more and more, not more and more, like there's been a couple accounts that like NYCFC Insider or something like that. Like, I don't think that's the actual account, but that have all of a sudden gotten into it. And so, and obviously Fabrizio Romano I don't think he plays himself, does like, not that we know of. But yeah, that's great.
You've been on a few Sorare shows with Tom Bogart, right?
No, I've never talked to him directly. I've like exchanged like DMs with him, but not. He's been on the Sorare in the States with the MLS card guy.
There you go.
I think
I knew I had seen him somewhere. For some reason I thought it was with you somewhere, but yeah,
super cool guy. Like,
wonder if Sorare's ever something that he would be interested in, or just probably too busy.
Like I asked him about this, so I think this was in August, sometime last year, when there's like all these like transfer rumors flying. I was like, I think I shot him DMs like, hey, how do you feel about like all the attention they get on Twitter, right? Because that's shot up. He's like, yeah, I love the Sorare crowd. Like they have interesting questions. Like they're super nice. And then like the worst people are like the U.S. national team fans. Fuck those guys. But Sorare people, yeah, bring them on. Like, so which it's a good thing. We're good about that.
Well, it's funny because like we've seen opposite ends of the spectrum where people ask player news from beat writers of teams. Yeah, well, and then they get mad. They're like, oh, like they're upset that it's for fantasy sports, and I don't know. It just seems odd to me that like it's your job is to provide like that level of information around the team, and I don't think that you should really care where the attention's coming from.
Yeah.
Really, why do you care? Why I care?
Right.
Oh,
I just
Frontale
care.
Guy.
Yeah, be happy that I care.
Yeah, I care.
Was it that French Kawasaki Frontale account? That's just like, oh my god.
That's the best one.
Blocked everybody on. Oh my goodness.
The best.
Yeah, and I think even like something in the description was just like F all Sorare managers or something. It's just like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I guess, you know what? Maybe it was just like one bad experience. Somebody came in and ruined it for all of us. Okay.
It can happen. Can absolutely happen.
Like on that note, though, if Daniel Sperry is watching, can we get an update on Alan Pulido in the chat, please? That would be great. Is he coming back?
You joke about that. I read an update on Alan Pulido just the other day.
What is that?
I think he had like either a setback or his recovery's taking like longer than initially planned. So yeah.
All right. Well,
I don't think that it was like anything devastating. I don't think it's like, hey, if you own Pulido, you need to go sell him now. But you may want to dig around on Twitter and get the full news on that.
Uh-oh.
I'll just sit here and hold
10 hours ago from the Sporting KC blog. Will Pulido ever be healthy? And how to enjoy Sporting KC in 2023.
Okay.
Oh, that's not great. Oh, it's a podcast, so I'll have to listen to it. But...
Still the last Mexican to win the Liga MX Golden Boot, I believe.
Really? Wow. Has it been Gignac ever since?
I'll be honest, I don't know who won it. Yeah.
Julio Forge and then Gignac.
Yeah, he's Argentinian.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have won it last year.
What about this one? Yeah. Interesting. Oh, man, Pulido.
I think it was. All right. I think I'm going to end this here. But thank you to everybody who has joined us in the chat. It was pretty active today as we walked our way through quite a bit. Did not expect us to be checking out the Leagues Cup bracket at any point, but there we were, and ending on Alan Pulido. So it's a very big Champion America show today. So thank you, everybody. If you guys could please hit the like button on the video, always very helpful. And if you could rate and review the podcast wherever you listen. Yeah, Frip, thank you so much. I gave you like 3 hours headway of like, hey, you want to come on today
Anytime.
at 4 o'clock Eastern? And you were like, yes, I do. So thank you very much for doing that. And yeah.
Pleasure.
And
Thanks for having me.
This time next week, we're setting Champion America lineups, Black. Let's go.
Let's go.
I might join you. We'll see.
Yes.
I think I'm just going to throw an Ochoa in a lineup with like Tovin. That's like the dream team. Maybe the cream team if they do it right.